All right, hi everyone, welcome back. We're on slide 8, cognitive development, looking at changes in our attention and our memory. Our attention continues to decline in late adulthood, so that includes selective, divided, sustained attention. All of that is going to decrease. Working memory now is starting to decline. Remember, I call working memory like our scratch pad memory. Like, what would you write in a scratch pad to remember later that day or something like that? This is declining. We also see episodic and autobiographical memory decline. Basically, it's our long-term memory. So you're thinking about certain memories, episodic, like who would I go to prom with, or what happened on this special date or something. Source memory declines. We do see something called the reminiscence bump. So if we talk about a memory a lot, that's going to keep it more clear for somebody. Overall declining memory, attention with age. Changes in the brain. So next slide, in brain diseases. Brain mass does decline as we age, and the spaces within our brain do increase. So the space between around the hippocampus or the cerebellum or frontal lobes. We do see a decline in things like dopamine, so a decline in neurotransmitters. So we do see an increased late adulthood risk for dementia. And Alzheimer's disease is the most common of that. So basically this is loss of memories. We think there's different factors influencing our Alzheimer's risk. There's also protective factors. There's no known treatment or care. We're still really in the thick of sort of trying to understand these brain diseases. Medications work to limits. New treatments are being explored. But we know this is a really difficult brain a change that can happen in our brains, and it's really difficult for caregivers to cope and individuals to cope with these changes in their life as well. So something I wanted to note, I typically have people in the class that have somebody, a grandparent or somebody who has had one of these diagnoses or loss of memory, and it's impacted their lives. So responding to cognitive decline, next slide. Let's see here, late life learning. Okay, so this is really interesting. There's a Seattle longitudinal study looking at, okay, can we still learn when we're in late life? And they found that some really positive stuff, that cognitive interventions, so like the stuff that we can do every day, like the Sudoku or crosswords or reading, these cognitive interventions, practicing memory, doing the crossword puzzles, actually do prove effective. So this is what we call mental exercise. So if we regularly do this, just like physical health, it does slow cognitive decline. I'm not saying it's going to stop it, but it can slow it. So we see that that's a positive sort of thing for things like reasoning skills or our spatial orientation. There's also something we tend to do when we get older, and it's called selective optimization with compensation. So the idea is basically we select values of activities, valued activities. So what do I like to do? I like to play bingo, or I like to meet with my ladies and walk around, or whatever. And so we optimize performance in these areas because they're important to us. And we can compensate in these areas for decline because we can come up with new strategies because they're valued to us. So we optimize, we compensate on something that's important to us. So this is something we do as we age cognitively, which I think is kind of cool. Next slide about wisdom. I think, what is wisdom, right? Wisdom is talking about having a whole big bunch of knowledge, right? You know your values, you're very aware, you have strategies to use to solve problems, to get through things, you have a lot of insight, right? This is what we'd say is wisdom. And so we tend to think of our elders to have wisdom. But interestingly enough, current research doesn't show a link between age and wisdom. So remember, wisdom is this insight, knowledge, strategy, values, awareness kind of thing. Future research may examine things like cultural differences, the impact of cultural rates of social change, and how that plays a role in our wisdom, how our society changes so quickly that by the time we become old, all the accumulated strategy and knowledge that we have isn't as valid anymore. So it's kind of interesting. It's valid, but it's different. Okay, I'm going to stop here on cognitive, pick up on emotional and social. See you soon.